The smoke of Meereen still lingered in the air, not from war but from rebirth. Daenerys Stormborn, mother of dragons, breaker of chains, stood atop the Great Pyramid, her white hair catching the morning sun. The city below was far from perfect, but it was hers now, liberated from slavers and false kings. Daario Naharis watched her from the steps behind, his smile confident, but his eyes calculating. For years he had been her sword, her lover, her loyal second son. But loyalty was a currency, and Daario was running out of reasons to keep spending it. The people of Meereen had not welcomed Daenerys with the open arms she expected. Resistance festered, not just from the sons of the Harpy, but from those who once held power. Daario, once intoxicated by Daenerys' fire, now questioned her rule. He had given up gold, women, and freedom for her, only to be told to stay behind while she sailed west to claim another throne. That morning, Grey Worm brought news. Sons of the Harpy attacked again. 7 dead, all civilians. Daenerys's lips tightened. They test my patience. They test your authority, Daario said, stepping forward. Perhaps they sense weakness. She turned to him. Weakness. You rule with mercy, Khaleesi. These people only understand strength. Tyrion, ever the diplomat, interjected. Strength must be tempered. We cannot afford to become tyrants. Daario scoffed. Tyrants live longer than dreamers. Later, in the quiet of her chambers, Daenerys looked at Daario and asked, Do you regret staying with me? He answered with a kiss, but it lacked the passion of before. His hands were cold, his eyes distant. In the alleys of Meereen, whispers stirred. Daario met secretly with Hizdahr zo Loraq, once Daenerys' political puppet. Hizdahr offered what Daario wanted, control. You are her sword, but what has she given you? Hizdahr asked, You command the second sons. You have the loyalty of warriors, and you know this city better than she ever will. Daario lit a cigarette, silent for a moment. If I turn, I don't want scraps. I want the city. You'll have it, Hizdahr said, but first we must break the dragon. Daenerys knew something had shifted. Spies vanished. Supplies to the Unsullied grew short. The Sons of the Harpy were more organized. Tyrion suspected an inside hand. We have a traitor, he told her one night, and it may be someone close. She looked at Daario's empty bed. He had not returned that night, or the night before. At dawn, a messenger arrived. A trap had been sprung. Unsullied patrols ambushed in the plaza. Hundreds dead. Daenerys rushed to the dragon pit, fearing the worst. Daario was waiting. You came, he said. Where are they? She demanded. Gone, he replied. You trusted the wrong man, Khaleesi. She froze. Her eyes searched his for any trace of the man she once loved. You betrayed me. I saved myself, he said. You were going to leave me here to rot in this city while you chased your precious Iron Throne. I am not a servant, Daenerys. I am a leader. You were mine, she whispered. No one owns me. He whistled, and suddenly the pit filled with armed men, second sons cloaked in betrayal. Behind them stood Hizdahr, smug. But Daenerys was not alone. Drogon screeched from above, landing with an earth-shaking roar. Flames burst into the air. Daario stepped back. We don't have to fight. Leave. The city is mine now. I am fire and blood, she said coldly. The dragon bared its teeth. The pit trembled beneath Drogon's massive claws. His wings folded as he lowered his head beside Daenerys, eyes blazing at the traitors before him. Daario Naharis, once her sword and lover, now stood with Hizdahr zo Loraq and the second sons arrayed behind him. I gave you everything, Daenerys said, her voice barely above a whisper. You gave me a cage, Daario snapped. Call it love, call it command. It was still a leash. You betrayed your queen. I betrayed my captor. With a roar, Drogon lunged forward, belching flame. Men screamed. The front lines of the second sons were incinerated in an instant. Hizdahr turned to run, but a bolt from Grey Worm's spear pinned him to the ground as the Unsullied surged in from hidden tunnels beneath the pyramid. Tyrion had prepared for treachery. You're not the only one who can scheme, he had told Daenerys the night before. You need to assume every man can be bought, even Daario. The battle for Meereen began in earnest. Outside the pit, chaos unfolded. Citizens fled the plaza as fire and steel clashed. The Unsullied, though fewer, were disciplined. The Second Sons had numbers and guile, but they lacked Drogon. Above, Rhaegal and Viserion shrieked as they joined the fight. The sky turned black, with smoke as the dragons circled, breathing fire on the rebel troops. Daenerys mounted Drogon mid-air and turned the tide from above. Daario fought fiercely, carving through unsullied ranks with the grace of a dancer and the fury of a man betrayed. His blade found Grey Worm on the battlefield. "You should have died for her," Daario growled. "I live for her," Grey Worm replied, parrying his blow. The two warriors clashed beneath a burning arch, their battle brutal and personal. Grey Worm's spear struck Daario's shoulder, but Daario fought on. Blood dripped from both men. Elsewhere, Tyrion and Missandei coordinated the defense from the Great Pyramid, using secret tunnels to move forces and trap Second Sons in choke points. "We have to seal the palace gates," Missandei cried. "They're not the only thing that needs sealing," Tyrion muttered. "We need to cut off the harbor." He sent ravens to the loyal captains who remained. Within hours, Daenerys' fleet blockaded the bay, cutting off any escape for Daario's rebels. By nightfall, the city burned. Daenerys flew low over the plaza, surveying the wreckage. Bodies littered the streets, slavers, mercenaries, and innocents caught in between. Daario was nowhere to be found. "You should kill him," Tyrion said when they regrouped. "If he lives, he'll rise again." "I'll deal with him myself," Daenerys said. Deep in the ruins of a merchant's palace, Daario nursed his wounds. He had escaped the pit with a handful of loyal men, but Meereen was lost. His gamble had failed. He had underestimated her. "You were supposed to be soft," he muttered. "You were supposed to leave." He wasn't afraid of death. He feared irrelevance. The thought of being left behind while she conquered Westeros had broken something in him, but Daenerys hadn't forgotten him. She found him 2 days later, hiding in the lower districts. The people had turned on him. He had no allies left. When she entered the chamber, he didn't even reach for his sword. "You win," he said. "I always do." She approached slowly, Drogon growling behind her. "You were mine," she said again. "I was never anyone's." She raised her hand. Drogon hissed, but she didn't give the order. "I want you to live with what you did," she said. "I want you to rot in the ruins of the city you tried to steal." He spat at her feet. "You're becoming just like your father." Her eyes flashed. "No, he would have burned the whole city. I only burned half." She turned and walked away. The aftermath was brutal. Daenerys declared martial law, hunting the remaining rebels. The Second Sons disbanded, and Meereen became a military outpost rather than a free city. Tyrion watched her closely. "You let Daario live." "Death is too merciful," she replied. "Let him feel forgotten." But a seed of darkness had been planted. This betrayal had hardened her. Meereen had been her trial. Westeros would be her war. Weeks passed. The fires of Meereen had cooled, but not Daenerys' resolve. The rebellion had changed her. The woman who once broke chains now wore invisible armor, wrought from betrayal, fire, and fury. Tyrion noticed the change in her most of all. She no longer sought counsel as often, and when she did, it was only to confirm decisions already made. "Daario wounded you more than you admit," he said one evening on the balcony of the Great Pyramid. "He reminded me who I am," she replied, eyes fixed on the harbor. "And who is that? Someone who doesn't wait for the world to give her a crown." Across the sea, Westeros burned in its own chaos. Cersei Lannister ruled King's Landing with wildfire and paranoia. The North had crowned Jon Snow. Riverrun rebelled. Dawn was stirring, and Dragonstone, the ancestral seat of House Targaryen, remained empty waiting. Daenerys was done waiting. She summoned her captains and commanders. "We set sail for Westeros in a fortnight," she declared. "Meereen will be ruled by the Council of Freedmen and the Unsullied. Tyrion and Missandei will remain behind, temporarily to ensure the transition." Grey Worm stepped forward. "I go where you go, Your Grace." She nodded. "Then prepare." The fleet. Tyrion was less enthusiastic. "You're leaving a war-torn city with a council of strangers and an angry ghost." Daario is broken. Broken men are often the most dangerous, but she wouldn't listen. Her eyes were already on Westeros. Across the city, Daario Naharis wandered the ruins. He was no longer the silk-clad sellsword of old. His clothes were tattered, beard unkempt, eyes hollow, but he was alive. He watched as ships were loaded in the harbour, dragons circling above. He could feel her leaving. He clenched his fists. The city had rejected him, but he would not be forgotten. In secret, he met with smugglers and mercenaries. "She thinks I'm finished," he said. "But I know her rage, and I know her weakness." "What do you want?" one asked. "A ship," he said, "and vengeance." On the open sea, Daenerys's fleet cut through waves like a blade. She stood at the bow of the flagship, wind whipping through her silver hair. Rhaegal and Viserion flew ahead, scouting. The journey to Westeros took weeks, but she felt each day like a heartbeat building toward destiny. When they finally sighted Dragonstone, the silence was reverent. The ancient fortress loomed atop its rocky perch, dragons circling its towers for the first time in generations. Home. As they landed, Daenerys stepped ashore, Grey Worm and her remaining Dothraki behind her. The sand was black and cold beneath her feet. "This is where it begins," she whispered. In the war room of Dragonstone, her commanders laid out the map of Westeros. Pins marked allies and enemies. "Cersei rules with fear," Tyrion said, newly. "Arrived from Meereen. We must offer an alternative." "I offered mercy in Meereen," Daenerys replied. "And they rose against me. Not all Westerosi are slavers." "No, but they are all afraid." She slammed a pin into King's Landing. "We burn fear into their hearts before they rise." Elsewhere in Dorne, Ellaria Sand pledged her loyalty. "The Lannisters murdered my lover. You'll have our spears. The Tyrells sent ravens. Highgarden stands with the Queen." And in the north, Jon Snow received word of the Dragon Queen's arrival. He was wary. "She's not her father," Davos said. "Let's hope not," Jon replied, "because if she is, the realm is doomed." One night, as Daenerys studied her map, a letter arrived, unsigned, but written in a familiar hand. "You think you've left me behind, but I am always closer than you think. Watch your skies, my queen, I am not finished." Her hands trembled. "Daario." She burned the letter in the candle flame, but the ashes clung to her fingers. In a cove near Blackwater Bay, a small ship approached King's Landing. Aboard it, Daario stood, dressed now in Lannister gold. "I know." "Hurt," he told Qyburn, Cersei's spymaster. "I know how to kill her dragons." "And in return," Qyburn asked. "When the Dragon Queen falls, I want Meereen." Cersei smiled from her iron chair. "Done." And so the game began again, this time from within. The winds of war howled across Westeros. In the Red Keep, Queen Cersei Lannister paced the black marble floor of the throne room. The Iron Throne loomed behind her like a hungry beast, forged for war and ruled by fear. Her spies whispered news of Daenerys Targaryen's arrival at Dragonstone, and for the first time Cersei's smirk faltered. "She has dragons. She has allies. She has half the realm's sympathy," Jaime said, arms crossed beside her. "But she also has ambition," Cersei replied, "and ambition makes mistakes." Daario Naharis knelt before her, dressed in crimson armor, golden lion, etched on his chest. "I can give you her weaknesses." "You were her lover," Jaime growled. "Why should we trust you?" Daario looked up, his voice cool. "Because I hate her now more than you ever will." Cersei leaned forward. "And how do you suggest we kill a dragon queen?" He smiled. "You don't kill the queen, you kill her dragons." At Dragonstone, Daenerys met with her war council. The room was dim, torches casting shadows over the carved table of Westeros. "We have fleets from Dorne and the Reach. Yara Greyjoy holds the sea," Tyrion said. "We strike Casterly Rock, draw the Lannisters west, then descend on Kings." "Landing?" "No," Daenerys said. "We go to the source." Grey Worm frowned. "The Red Keep?" She nodded. "I will meet with Cersei. I want her to look into the eyes of the woman who will burn her world." Tyrion hesitated. "She will. Trap you." "Let her try." The meeting was arranged in the ruins of the Dragon Pit, the same ground where Jon Snow once brought warring queens together. But now there was no diplomacy. only deceit. Daenerys arrived with Tyrion, Missandei, and Grey Worm. She rode Drogon down into the pit, a vision of fire and majesty. Cersei stood waiting with Jaime, Qyburn, and Daario at her side. Their eyes met, two queens, each forged in blood. "You're bold to come," Cersei said. "You're foolish to stay," Daenerys replied. Daario stepped forward, smiling faintly. "I warned you she wouldn't be merciful." Tyrion's face hardened. "So it's true." Cersei's voice dripped with venom. "My offer is simple, Dragon Queen. Return to Essos. Stay there, or watch your dragons die." Daenerys stared at Daario. "You think you can kill them?" "I know where they sleep," Drogon hissed, wings flaring. The tension in the pit crackled like a storm. "I'll give you this chance," Daenerys said coldly, "because I still believe in mercy. Leave. King's Landing, Cersei, or I will bring it down around you." Cersei said nothing. They turned and left. But the message was clear. War was inevitable. That night, back at Dragonstone, Daenerys walked alone along the cliffside. Tyrion joined her, concern written across his face. "You shouldn't have gone," he said. "She needed to see me," she replied. "To fear me. She doesn't fear. She destroys. She's not the only one." Tyrion studied her carefully. "Daario being there, that changes things. I trusted him, loved him, and he sold me to my enemies. What will you do?" "I will show him what it means to betray fire." In the bowels of the Red Keep, Qyburn unveiled a new weapon, a massive scorpion bolt, designed not only to pierce dragonhide but to track heat and movement. Daario watched the test silently as the bolt struck a giant leather target. "They sleep in the caverns beneath Dragonstone," he said, "at dawn when they are least alert." "And what of Daenerys?" Cersei asked. Daario smiled. "She'll wake to find her skies empty." The following morning, an explosion rocked Dragonstone. Grey Worm rushed to Daenerys' chambers. "Your Grace, the dragons—" She didn't wait. She ran barefoot down the rocky path to the cliffs. Smoke rose from the shoreline. Rhaegal lay wounded, one wing torn by a bolt. Viserion was gone. No sign of his body, only blood and shattered. Stone Drogon roared in the sky and raged. Daenerys fell to her knees. "Viserion," she whispered, her voice breaking. The war had begun, and this time it was personal. In the Red Keep, Cersei toasted Daario. "One dragon down," she said. "Two to go," he replied, his eyes fixed on the horizon. But deep inside him, something stirred. Guilt, no, regret. Not for betraying her, but for how much she had become the woman he once believed in. The wind howled over Dragonstone, carrying the scent of scorched feathers and shattered trust. Viserion was gone. Rhaegal, grounded and bleeding, struggled to breathe. Only Drogon remained airborne, his roars shaking the cliffs. Daenerys stood, beside the fallen dragon, her hand pressed to his scales. Grey Worm, Tyrion, and Missandei kept their distance. None dared speak first. Tyrion finally broke the silence. "They struck us in our home. They knew exactly where to hit." Daenerys didn't look up. Her voice was distant. "Daario knew." "He's not just a traitor," Grey Worm said. "He's a weapon." "We should strike King's Landing now," Missandei added. "Burn it to ash." Daenerys stood. Her face, once radiant with hope, was now shadowed with fury. "No," she said. "Not yet." Tyrion was surprised. "Mercy? Still?" She turned to him slowly. "I want Cersei to see her. Doom coming. I want Daario to watch the skies, knowing what he's done has only delayed the inevitable." In King's Landing, celebration echoed through the halls of the Red Keep. Wine flowed, and courtiers whispered that the dragons were not immortal after all. Cersei was radiant in black and gold, sitting upon her throne with an expression of cruel satisfaction. "Two dragons left," she mused. "Soon none." Daario remained silent. The kill hadn't brought him joy. It hadn't brought him peace either. He watched as Qyburn prepared a second shipment of scorpion bolts. "You were right," Qyburn said. "Dragons bleed. Everything bleeds," Daario replied. Later that night, as he stood on the balcony of Maegor's holdfast, staring into the darkness beyond the city, he felt something unfamiliar. Emptiness. At Dragonstone, Daenerys convened. A new war council? But this time it was smaller, tighter. The circle of trust had shrunk. "The Reach is with us," Grey Worm said. "Highgarden is sending men. Yara has blockaded the Western Sea." "And Jon Snow?" Tyrion asked. Daenerys nodded. "He's marching south, he brings the north." Tyrion raised an eyebrow. "You're sure he comes to ally?" "We fought together once. He won't bow to Cersei. And if he won't bow to you?" Daenerys looked toward the skies. Drogon circled above like a storm cloud with wings. "Then I'll make him see why he should." Jon Snow's arrival at Dragonstone was not marked by pageantry. The North did not believe in spectacle. He found Daenerys in the war room, her hands on the carved table, her eyes burning. "You've lost one," he said gently. "I've lost. More than that," she replied. "I came to fight the dead. But now there's war with the living." She looked at him. "Cersei struck first. And you'll strike last? I'll end it. For good." Jon saw the steel in her eyes. There was power there, but danger too. She was a queen forged in flame and betrayal. And now all that remained of her mercy was ash. Night fell over King's Landing. The moon glinted off the spires of the red keep. All was quiet. Then the silence shattered. A streak of fire roared across the sky. Drogon Daenerys had come, but not with her full army. Not with Rhaegal. Just Drogon, alone in the night, a phantom of death. They struck the Lannister naval yard, reducing ships to flaming wreckage. Then the granaries, the stables, precision strikes. No civilians, only the war machine. Cersei watched. From her tower, eyes narrowed. "She's baiting us," Jaime said. "Trying to draw us out." "She's sending a message," Cersei corrected. "She's saying I could burn it all." Daario stood on the ramparts, watching the flames in the harbor. He knew that pattern. He had ridden with her, slept beside her. He recognized her fury. "She's not going to stop," he said to himself. "Not until one of us is dead." Qyburn appeared beside him. "The next time she comes, we'll be ready. The bolts have been doubled, the scorpions retuned." Daario didn't answer. For the first time, he questioned which side of the fire he truly stood on. The next morning, ash rained over King's Landing like snow. Children coughed. Smoke veiled the sun. In the Red Keep, ravens flew. Lords of Westeros were choosing sides. Some turned to Daenerys out of fear. Others clung to Cersei, too afraid to trust a dragon queen with a scorched temper. In the north, Jon Snow received word of the raid. "She's making a statement," Davos said. "She's proving a point," Jon replied, "but whose cost will that come at?" Jon rode to Daenerys' chambers. "If you burn everything, there will be nothing left to rule." Daenerys turned to him, her voice cold. "Then they should have chosen differently." He didn't know who she meant. Cersei, Daario, or the world itself. But something inside him whispered, "She is not the same woman who crossed the sea and the war was only beginning." King's Landing awoke under a shroud of smoke. The dragon attack had crippled the naval yards, destroyed food reserves, and set fear coursing through the capital like a fever. Yet Cersei Lannister remained defiant. "She's trying to make us afraid," she said to Jaime. "But fear is my kingdom." Jaime didn't answer. He stared toward the black horizon where flames still glimmered from Daenerys' fury. Daario entered the throne room moments later, armored and quiet. "Your scorpions did nothing," he said bluntly. "Drogon was too fast, too high." Qyburn frowned. "We need to lure the dragon into range and bait the queen with it." Daario didn't reply. He walked to the window and looked out over the city, his eyes scanning the distant skies. He wasn't afraid of Daenerys, but he was no longer sure he wanted to kill her. At Dragonstone, Daenerys stood in the courtyard before a row of kneeling prisoners, captured Lannister scouts from a failed incursion into the Stormlands. The nobles begged for mercy. Tyrion watched anxiously. "You promised justice, not cruelty," he reminded her. "And justice is being delivered," she said, eyes hard. With a nod from her, Grey Worm raised his blade. The sentence was swift. Death. "Clean and public. Let this be known," Daenerys said to the gathered soldiers. "This is the price of serving a queen who poisons cities with lies." Afterward, in the chamber overlooking the sea, Tyrion confronted her. "You're walking a thin line," he said. "I am what this world made me," she answered. Jon entered behind them. "You're becoming what you came to destroy." She turned to him. And what would you have me do? Wait while they slaughter us in our sleep? Let Cersei murder my dragons one by one? There are still ways to end this without fire. She stepped toward him. I am the fire, Jon. There is no peace without power. Jon stared at her. This wasn't the woman he had sailed to support, but part of him still believed she could be saved. Or at least stopped. In the north, word of Daenerys' tactics spread uneasily. Sansa Stark read the reports in Winterfell with a cold frown. She's losing control, she told Brienne, and Jon is too close to see it. What will you do? Brienne asked. What I must. Sansa penned a raven to River Run, another to the Vale. If Daenerys fell into madness, someone had to be ready to pick up the pieces. Meanwhile, Daario sent out his own message, a secret letter. Written not to Cersei, not to Qyburn, but to Tyrion Lannister. I know how this ends. If she continues down this path, the world will burn. But if I give you what I know, her weaknesses, her patterns, her mind, you must promise one thing. Don't let Cersei win. Tyrion read the letter in silence. Then he burned it, but he remembered every word. On the battlefield outside King's Landing, Daenerys made her move. She sent her troops to siege the city from 3 sides. The Dothraki thundered across the King's Road. The Unsullied marched from the east. The Reachmen closed from the west. Inside the city, panic spread. Cersei summoned Daario. She's coming, she said. Then we meet her. But when Daario looked into her eyes, he no longer saw a queen. He saw a woman so afraid to lose power that she would drown the world in wildfire to keep it. That night, Daario slipped from the Red Keep. He met Jon Snow in a ravine beneath the city walls. Jon drew his sword the moment he saw him. You have no right to speak to me. I have every right, Daario replied, hands raised. Because I know how to stop this. Jon didn't lower the blade. You're the one who started it. I know her. I know how she'll attack, where she'll strike. I know how to stop the slaughter. Why should I trust you? Because I loved her once, and because I hate what she's becoming more than you ever could. Jon hesitated. We can stop Cersei, and we can save Daenerys, but you'll have to choose which matters more. The next day, Daenerys stood before her armies, her last dragons circling overhead. King's Landing lay ahead, trembling. Tyrion stepped beside her. Before you begin, there's something you should see. He handed her a scroll, a message from Jon. And Daario. Her hands trembled. What is this? A warning. A final choice. She looked up at the city, at the towers, at the castle that was once her family's, and her grip tightened. I've made my choice, she said. Drogon roared from above. The sky turned red. The sun rose blood-red over King's Landing. Its light filtered through haze and ash. Daenerys stood atop Drogon's back, hovering beyond the city's edge, her gaze fixed on the Red Keep, her ancestral home, now ruled by usurpers and traitors. Below, her 3 armies waited for her command, the Unsullied, the Dothraki, and the forces of the Reach. Jon Snow rode alongside Grey Worm at the front, his heart pounding. He had tried to reason with her. He had even listened to Daario, but none of it had reached her now. In the Red Keep, Cersei stood at the highest balcony, her hands folded calmly, her crown catching the morning light. Beside her, Qyburn muttered about the city's defenses, but she wasn't listening. She'll wait for the bells, Jaime said, standing behind her. She'll wait for nothing, Cersei replied. She's already decided. Inside the city walls, people crammed into streets and temples, crying out for mercy. The bells were ready. The men of the city guard waited nervously beside the ropes. If she wants peace, one muttered, she'll hear us beg for it. But above them, Drogon shrieked. Daenerys' face was unreadable. The message Jon and Daario had sent, the warning, the plea, it lay crumpled in her saddlebag, ignored. They had chosen their sides, and she would show the world what fire could do. She stood on Drogon's back and raised her hand. The dragons roared. The attack began. The first strike came like thunder. Drogon descended in a blaze of flame, incinerating the outer gate and vaporizing the scorpions meant to kill him. The Unsullied surged forward. Grey Worm led the charge, his spear dancing through flesh and armor. Jon Snow charged reluctantly. He didn't fight for conquest. He fought to prevent chaos. But chaos was already here. Civilians screamed, buildings crumbled. Dothraki poured through the streets, blades flashing. The people had no escape. From above, Daenerys was a force of nature. She strafed the battlements, destroying every Lannister defense in sight. Ballistas burned, towers crumbled, the sky bled. Fire. Still the bells never rang because Cersei had ordered them silenced. Daario watched from a hidden tower. He had returned to the city not to fight, but to witness what he had helped unleash. He saw her silhouette in the sky. He felt no triumph, only guilt. Within the Red Keep, Cersei smiled thinly as the walls shook. "She won't stop," Qyburn whispered, trembling. "I know. You must flee." But Cersei stood still. "Let her come, let her burn it all. The world will remember that the last Targaryen brought fire, not peace." On the battlefield, Jon watched as Daenerys torched a civilian square. No soldiers, just families, children, shops. He screamed for her to stop. "She can't hear you," Grey Worm shouted, striking down a surrendering Lannister. Jon grabbed his arm. "This isn't war, it's slaughter." Grey Worm didn't stop. "This is justice," but Jon had seen justice. This was something else. In the Red Keep's great hall, Daenerys landed. The roof had been torn open by Drogon's breath. Sunlight streamed through, casting jagged shadows on the Iron Throne. Cersei waited alone, blood trickling from her temple. "You finally made it," she said. Daenerys walked forward, eyes fixed on the throne behind her. "You killed my dragon," she said. "You burned my city." They stood inches apart, two queens, two weapons. "This was mine," Daenerys whispered, "and you lost it before you were born." Drogon growled behind her, but Daenerys didn't call for flame. She looked Cersei in the eyes and said, "You're not worth fire." She drew a dagger instead. Cersei laughed bitterly. "Then do it. Become what you were born to be." Daenerys drove the blade into her heart. Cersei fell to the marble floor. Dead. No fire. No throne. Just silence. Outside, the Red Keep crumbled. Daario climbed the scorched staircase, finding her there. Alone, blood on her hands. "He didn't raise a sword. You won," he said. Daenerys turned, exhausted. "There is no winning." "You've become what we feared." She stepped toward him. "I became what I needed to be." "And what now?" She looked down at the city, a graveyard of ash. "Now I rule." Jon appeared moments later, pushing past the charred guards. He saw Daario, saw the body, saw the Iron Throne, and then he saw her. "You've lost everything," he said. "No," Daenerys replied. "I've taken everything back." He knew then. There was no turning her back, only forward, into darkness, to be concluded in Part 8, Ashes of the Dragon. The Iron Throne stood alone, half melted by dragon fire, twisted and blackened, an empty relic of ambition. Around it, the Red Keep lay in ruins. The city below had fallen silent, its cries smothered by ash and smoke. Daenerys Targaryen stood at the edge of a broken balcony, Drogon perched behind her like a living shadow. Her silver hair blew in the hot wind as she gazed over the shattered remnants of King's Landing. In her eyes burned not victory but absolution. "I have freed them," she whispered, "even if they do not understand." Behind her, Jon Snow approached. "You freed them from breath." She turned slowly, her face carved in fire and sorrow. "You saw them. Cersei would have burned them too." "I ended it." "No," he said. "You became it." For a long moment neither spoke. Then Jon said, "Step down, end this." "I am the end," Daenerys said quietly, "and the beginning." He reached for the hilt of his sword. Her eyes flicked to it. "Will you kill me too, Jon? Like Cersei? You're leaving me no choice. You never had one." Before he could speak again, Drogon let out a long, low growl. He stepped toward Jon, but Daenerys raised her hand. "No, not yet." Behind them, Daario emerged, soot on his face, blood on his sleeve, his eyes tired. "You don't have to die today, Khaleesi," he said softly. She turned, startled. "You shouldn't be here. Neither should you." They stood in a triangle now, lover, queen, betrayer, the past and future colliding in the ruins of a dream. Jon looked between them. You both know what has to happen." Daenerys looked at Daario. "You sold me out, and you became someone I couldn't follow." She stepped toward him. "Did you ever love me?" "Yes," he said. "Enough to know you were never meant to be a tyrant." For a moment, something broke in, her eyes a crack, a memory. Then it was gone. "I will not be remembered as the girl who lost," she said. "You'll be remembered," Jon said, "but not how you hoped." Later, outside the Red Keep, the army waited for a queen who no longer existed. Daenerys stepped from the ruins with Drogon behind her. The Unsullied pounded their spears in salute. The Dothraki roared. She raised her hand. "I have no throne," she called, "because I am not here to sit. I am here to change the world." Daario stood silently among the soldiers, watching her speech. Tyrion beside him, grim. "She's lost," Tyrion whispered. "No," Daario said. "She's finally become what the world made her." In the crowd, Jon Snow said nothing. That night, in the shattered ruins of the throne room, Daenerys stood, alone once more. The Iron Throne glistened with molten edges. She approached it, not to sit, but to see what she had come so far to find. Power, legacy. But as her hand brushed its surface, a dagger slipped quietly between her ribs. She gasped. "Jon." Snow held her close, his face a mask of grief. "You were my queen," he whispered. Her lips moved. No sound. Drogon's roar shook the world. The great dragon found her body moments later. He nudged her gently, then turned his fury on the throne, melting it down to slag with one scream of sorrow. The cycle of kings and queens, broken in fire. He did not burn Jon. He did not kill Daario. Instead, Drogon took Daenerys' lifeless body in his claws and soared into the sky. None would see them again. Weeks passed. The ashes of King's Landing settled. The realm breathed again. In the Great Hall, the surviving leaders of Westeros gathered. Tyrion, Arya, Sansa, Brienne, Samwell, Davos, and others. Jon Snow sat in chains. "Who rules now?" someone asked. Daario Naharis, cloaked in silence, stepped forward. "She ruled with fire," he said. "We must rule with memory." He placed Daenerys' ring on the table. "She will not be forgotten, but she cannot return." The council agreed. Bran Stark was named king. Jon was sent into exile beyond the wall. Daario disappeared from public life. Some said to Essos, others to the sea. Years later, a statue stood in the quiet gardens of the rebuilt Red Keep. It showed a woman with silver hair standing beside a dragon. No crown, no throne, just flame and wings. The plaque read, "Daenerys Stormborn, breaker of chains, bringer of fire." She changed the world, but fire cannot rule it, and somewhere far beyond the mountains and seas, Drogon flew still, the last flame of a dream too bright for its time.